Logan back with hypehustle.com answering a question that comes up all the time with people looking to get into Uber, as well as I'm going to combine this into what is going to happen with Uber here in the near future, actually starting here on the 1st here in California. So that first question is that a lot of people ask is, are Uber drivers employees? And currently, no, they are not. Uber drivers haven't been employees, they've been self-contractors, and they will stay that way in most places besides places in New York and as well in California starting on the 1st. So with that, you're a self-contractor, you pay for all of your, everything it takes care to maintain your vehicle, gas, stuff like that, and then you use the platform, the service that Uber provides and allows you to use to make money picking up people here and there. Now, for those of you that are in California or New York, I'm not necessarily as much in New York because I haven't done a ton of research on that, but in California I've looked into it because that is where I am. The law Assembly Bill 5 will come into effect on the 1st. It was passed, and that makes Uber have to pass the ABC test, which is going to show, try and make them employees, as well as that's going to affect all contract work and different types of things as well. It does not just affect rideshare drivers, it's going to affect truck drivers and everything else. So it's going to be a huge change that is coming. Delivery services as well, everything. Uber, I know, is going to try and get away with not saying that their main business is ride sharing, which it is not. They are a technology company as well. And that's why there hasn't necessarily been a huge showing what is going to happen. Are we going to become employees or not? I know there's changes on the app that is going to make it more freelance style to try and combat it, but we'll see. The other interesting thing about it though is if it does pass, it's going to make it very difficult, and for people that do drive with Uber, even if you do it slightly, to if you grind it out and do 60 some hours, either or. Uber is going to have to, or any ride share for that fact, is going to have to cut back on what they do or how they do it, because their cost to keep their company going is going to go up significantly if they're going to have to pay for benefits, things like that, that are going to make it more expensive. As most people know, Uber and Lyft have been at a significant loss, have not made money. They are a broke company. So, with their costs going up, it's going to really affect how people are able to drive with them as well as getting a minimum fare. Is going to do certain things, like if you've read what happened in, I believe, Manhattan, where there's only allowed to be a certain amount of riders in a certain area that don't have riders in their car, different things like that, which is, going to be drastic if you think about driving in LA or something like that. If you drop someone off, you can't be in that area because you have no one in your car. So it's going to really affect how people are able to drive if that comes into effect, as well as, you have to think that Uber, the one thing that has kind of made it, and I find this very, I guess, stupid, is when people have gone on strike or try to create these unions, is at the end of the day, the riders are very replaceable. Like in any job, I mean, employees are very replaceable if you, go to a grocery store or something like that. But the same thing with Uber or Lyft. Like, you come in and you sign up, there's millions of people, well, not necessarily millions, but there's tons of people that sign up. Like, there's an influx of people that sign up every single day. So for them to lose riders, or like when people are on strike, it really doesn't hurt them that much because they know that they continually get riders. Like, at the end of the day, they're not going to lose money, because at the end of the day, they're still losing money. So that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that with this effect, it's actually going to hinder riders even more. Drivers even more. Like, there's going to be less opportunities. I know there's certain places where, we've seen London has lost their license. Arizona, you can't go to the airport, different things like that. So I think people need to understand what is actually going to happen with this law coming into effect, with people trying to become employees. Besides the fact that it's literally just changing the whole face of everything, especially in California and, New York, the big cities, and then it might trickle down eventually to the smaller places. But it is going to limit the amount that you're going to be able to make. And so that's why one of these things is, in the near future, you got to do your research more into it as well. I'm just giving you a broad overview and answering the question if Uber drivers are employees, which currently they're not, and in most states they won't be, besides California, possibly. But you have to do your own research and see what, how this actually affects it. AB5 and different, similar type laws are going to drastically limit the amount of driving and money that can be made from a driver and take the freedom away from them. Maybe it might not be scheduled and make it more like a taxi driver. I mean, they could do it that way, which will limit it extremely, or it could be the zone way, which is going to limit your driving as well. So it's just something drastic that you have to look into. And I know there's ways to maybe try and get back to it, because I know in California it's going to be back on the ballot. But as well, I think it's one of those things that Uber is going to, Uber and Lyft might be coming to almost an end. So to have an exit plan, personally, which I've talked about in my other videos, I do. I wasn't planning on doing this much longer throughout this year, maybe finishing off this year, but if these changes come, it might not even be worth it. But it's something to keep looking into if Uber is your only income, because these laws are actually going to hurt people a lot more than the people that went out and striked and went on union to try and get these laws into effect. Then they realized, I don't believe they did as much research as they thought, or they just kind of, one of those things where if you unionize, strike, you usually get what you want. It's not necessarily going to be that way for a system that maybe they don't necessarily understand. But so yeah, answering the question, Uber drivers are, yes, not employees, self-contractors in most places, and currently in California until the 1st when the law comes, but we don't necessarily know what is going to happen with that yet. There hasn't been anything that's rolled out or anything like that, so stay tuned and watch into that. As well as, I hope this informs you a little bit and helps you look into more what is going to go on in California, or possibly New York, or wherever you live, with the state of rideshare, if you're doing it or if you're interested in doing it. So yeah, hope that content helps a little bit, and stay tuned